Hello class, this video is for chapter 6 of the textbook, which is titled as Grades, Guides, and Learning Objects. In chapter 5, we've discussed that if you are trying to learn a little amount of text, you can use tabs. And table is also a very good function for us to group up the text in a neat way. And in this chapter, we're going to talk about how you can line up the objects, like the circles, rectangles, photos, or this kind of stuff. Basically, we're going to talk about the three tools in this chapter: the grades, the guides, as well as the function of distributing and spacing out the objects. Well, before we talk about that, let's launch our InDesign first. Remember that every time we launch out the InDesign, we need to create a new document. So let's create a new document, and then you will see this dialog box. You already know that the intent for print or intent for web, that you can choose any of them. Again, we still want to keep this unchecked for now. Letter size, it will be fun, and then original, we should use landscape, portrait in this case, portrait in this case. And then columns, we're going to talk about the column soon. But now normally you can choose one column. However, you can choose 2 column, 3 column, whatever you want. So let's choose 2 column in this case. And then gutter, by default is 1 picos. That's the distance between the 2 columns. Margins, you already know this. We said before that normally we do not set the value for bleed and slug. And now let's talk about the bleed and the slug. What is a bleed? Bleed is the extra area around your document, which eventually will be cut off. So for example, normally a regular letter size paper, the size should be 8 inch. This is actually 8 inch times 11 inch. But if you set a bleed value, then you will need to use a slightly larger piece of paper so that you can cut off some of the things. For example, if you look at here, and this is the regular size of the document. If you just want to have a regular design, you just set up the regular value. You don't need a bleed value. But if you want to have a bleed design, then you need to set up the bleed value. So this is the bleed area. This part will eventually, when you print it out, will eventually be cut off. And that's the bleed area. Well, let's say we're going to have 0.125 inch as the bleed value. And now you can see that this is the regular document, but around the document there's a red line, and the red line is actually the bleed area. Why we need a bleed area? That way you can put the photo in the bleed area, and which will be eventually cut off. So the design will have a special effects like this. Now you put the photo in the bleed area, and then this part will eventually be cut off, and then when you look at the document, it will look like this. And that's a bleed design. Let's see more bleed design. This is the bleed design. You can see the photo actually goes to the edge of the document. So it's a bleed design here. This is the bleed design. This is a bleed design. This guy's hair, his shoulder, his body goes into the edge of the document. So this is the bleed design also. This is the bleed design. You can see the arms goes to the edge of the document. And so if you want to have a bleed design, you want to have set up some bleed value so that you can put the photo over there, and which will be eventually cut off. And then when you look at the printout, it will have a special effect. What type of special effect will a bleed design have? A bleed design normally looks like more bold, more modern. It's not like the traditional design, so it will be more attractive if it looks like a more trendy, more close to the fashion. So it gives you a special feeling. Sometimes we certainly want to use the bleed design. If you look at the modern magazines such as Metropolitan or some other modern magazines, they often use this kind of a bleed design. So that's bleed. And then what is, let's go back to the dialog box. Let's say we're going to set a bleed design here. It's again inch. And what about the slug? The slug area, you can think of it as a private area, an area that you want to put something in the production process as a memoir for yourself or for other people. Like this product is created by me, is supervised by someone else, by A, or is finally approved by B. So if you want to put those kind of information in the document, so that everybody in the production process will be familiar about this information, but eventually when the work is printed out, you do not want this kind of information to be printed out also. That's the type of information that you want to put in the slug area, a private area for only people who are involved in the process to read. So let's say we're going to have a 1-inch slug area in the top or in the bottom. Normally, actually, it should be in the bottom. So let's put it in the bottom, 1 inch. Now let's say, again here we want to have 2 columns. Now let's say, okay, that would be a document that we created that has slug area, and then it has a has a bleed area all around, and then it has a slug area here. So everything put in the slug area, and you should remember that like it's created by me, and produced So this type of information, you can put it in the slug area, and then when you finally trying to print this document out, let's say you press Command P to print it out, and in the setup marks and the bleed area, if you check include the slug area, then this area will be printed out. If you uncheck this, then everything in this area will not be printed out. Again, in the production process, you may want to include this kind of information in your draft so that everybody will know this is created by someone and supervised by someone, finally approved by someone. And when they have a question, they can go to that person. But when you are printing the final version of the work, you do not want to include this area out. Similarly, if you check this area, then stuff in the bleed area will be printed out, so that will be a slightly larger document. But if you uncheck it, then it will just print out the regular document, and then everything will be cut off here, so that you'll have a bleed design. And normally we do not print it out, and instead we need to export our project into PDF, and that's actually the same thing here. When you export it, let's say we're going to export it to the desktop, and you also need to select here, do you want to include the slug area or not? Do you want to include the bleed area or not? If you sometimes if you put your name in the slug area, you want to include the slug area. Otherwise, you don't need to include the slug area. So that is two basic concepts, split and slug. Remember that sometimes we want to use the blade design so that your design will look like more trendy, special, attractive, modern, dear to the heart to the younger generation of viewers. And when you want to align the objects in a document, GATS is a very good tool for you to align up the objects. Let's say we have several objects. Okay, let's create a rectangle here and give it a stroke. We want to give it a red. We want to give it a red stroke. Sorry. So active the stroke. Give it a red. And did we give it a 1 point, 2 point? Okay. And then we want to give it a red and let's see, green fill. So that's one. Let's create another one. Circle. We want to give it this time a blue fill and a stroke. Find out the stroke again. So we want to give it a active stroke. Let's say we want to give it a swatch. We need to find the swatch, find the color, give it a blue. Yes, you see a blue stroke already. So let's create a third object. A star. We want a star. So give it a red, and that's a red stroke. Give it a red fill also. So we have three things. Let's say we want to align them in the same row, but we just look at it by eyes. It's not very accurate. So maybe we want to put our cursor here, click and drag a GAD. This is a GAD. So we can put the GAD here and then move everything around the GAD, and that will be much better than we just look at it. So that's how you drag a vertical GAD. I'm sorry, horizontal GAD. If you want a vertical GAD, you can drag it from here, okay? And if you want to delete a GAD, select the GAD and hit delete, and it will be gone. If you want to delete this one, select it, hit delete, it will be gone. One more thing that you may want to pay attention to is that when you drag a GAD within the document area, for example, this is the document area for the horizontal GADs. So if we drag from here, notice that the GAD will only start from here and end here. But if you drag a GAD from outside of this area, let's say we're going to drag a GAD from here, see, the GAD will be much long. It will goes from here to unlimitedly goes to that direction. It's the same for the vertical GAD. If you drag a GAD from here, it will only end within the document. But if you drag a get from here, and the get will be quite long, it will goes to unlimited lengths. So it will not just end within the document. Okay, that's get. Let's select all of the get and delete them. By the way, the gets, you can move them to the direction that the exact position you want them to be by putting the value here. And right now it's in 11 pico. If you want it to be 1 inch, and you can move it to the position of 1 inch, which is 6 pico. Delete it. Delete it because we do not want it. That's how we add gas in. Now we can also get the object by looking at the columns. For example, we can put those objects into these columns. And how do we create a column for the document? We have several ways of creating a column. And now we have 2 columns already. How did we create it? Remember, when we created the document, we set up as 2 columns. And that setup governs the whole document. And now if we open the page manual, we see that we only have 1 page for this document right now. But if you create 2 pages, okay, sorry, that happens. They are not in the same column because when we created, we didn't really uncheck the facing page. Somehow we, the second time when we created, we forgot that. So let's see if I can go back to reset that or not. See, okay, we fix it. So we need to uncheck the facing page for now. And now if you look at the second page, now we're looking at this is the first page. Now we're looking at the second page. It's also 2 columns. The third page is also 2 columns. The fourth page is also 2 columns. Again, you set up the 2 columns. If you go back to here, that's File, Document Setup. You see we set up as 2. Yeah, that's number of page. Okay, you can't actually see it from here, but when you first created the document, it allows you to choose how many columns you want. So we choose 2 at that time. That's why we have 2 columns for each page. So that setup governs the whole document, no matter how many pages you have in that document. Now there's another way to set up the columns. You can also, let's say we're going to select the last page. For the first 3 pages, we want 2 columns, but for the last page, we want 3 columns. Then you can go to Layout, Margins and Columns, and say 3. Okay, now we have 3 pages for this. We have 2 columns for all the other 3, but we have 3 pages for the last page. And that's a way of creating a column for the specific document. If you use that, we Layout, Margins and Columns, and you create a column. That setup only influences that particular page. It does not influence the whole document. And well, the third way of creating a column is that you create a text frame. Here is a text frame. Okay, we can move it to this area so that I can paste the area so that I can see it clearly. And then remember that you press Command B, or you press Control and click, call out the text frame options. You have a choice of set up the inset spacing as well as the column here. Right now it only has 1 column. You can change it into 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns. So let's set it as 4 column. And then we can move this text frame to here. Now we have 3 columns for this page of the document, but we have 4 columns for this text frame. So that are different ways of creating columns. Notice one thing, that the column, the document column, no matter is a whole document column or it's a page column, so the red line column get, this is the column get, the red get, their position can be moved. See, right now you can't really move it. Right now you cannot really move it. But if you go to View, let's see, get and grid and get, and then it says lock column get. Right now it's checked. If you click and uncheck it, and then see, you can move the position of the column get. Yeah, we can move the position of this thing too. For the second page, you can move it to this way. Third page, well, keep it. And this page you can move it like just make it fit this one, and this one you want to make it fit this one. So you can move the red color column get, but for the text frame get, there's no way to move the get column get. So the text frame, once they are created, they will just look like that. That's the column get. If you want to column gets are very useful when you create a knowledge of column gets are very useful when you're trying to create a newsletter. If you look at page 152 and 53, there are also other very interesting information about how to create a newsletter. So you may want to make sure that you go through that part. The textbook also, when it talk about grades, it also talk about a interesting thing of creating a grades to divide a page. For example, let's say page 3. Well, let's change it. Saying we do not want have it into 2 columns. Rather, we just want to have 1 column. Okay, but we want to divide this page into equally 9 squares. So what we can do is that we can go to Layout, Create Guides, and let's say we want check Preview again so that we can see everything. We want to have 3. This is 3 rows or 4, whatever you want. And this one you want to have 2, 3, let's say 4. Okay, so we divided the whole page into 1, 2, 3, 4, 16 squares. Maybe, okay, 16 squares. But you notice that right now you can remove existing ruler guide. That doesn't influence because we do not have any ruler guide. You can fit the guides into pages or into the margin, which this is the margin. Now it's fit into page. So if you look at the page as, then this square equals to this square. This square equals to this square. But if you just want to use the margin, you will see this square is much smaller than this one. So if you just want to use the margin, you better choose fit guides to margins. And look at here again, and this square is equal to this square again here. So that means every other squares equal to each other. So that's a technique that you can use when you create some newsletters. the textbook in page 155 to 156 talks about how to align the baseline guide. That is a technique that is especially useful when you're trying to create some captions for the photos. So it's useful when you trying to create some newsletters. We're not going to discuss them specifically here, but if you think that you're going to create a newsletter sometime, you probably want to read through that paragraph and make sure you understand how to use align to baseline guides. Now we're going to talk about how to align objects with another function, the distributing and the spacing function, distributing space function. So let's go back to the first page. Let's say okay, say okay here. Before we talk about how to align out the objects, let's have more objects. We can have several ways to duplicate object. You select it, press Option and drag it, and duplicate it, or you select it, copy it, add it, copy, or simply Command C and then Command V, copy it. Well, there's another easy way to do it. You select the object and then use a function called step and repeat. The function is in page is in page 165 of the textbook. So you simply select the text and press Command Option U, call out the step and repeat function. And now you only have one. If you want to duplicate the object to 2, let's just choose 2 here, preview. So you would actually would duplicate 2 more. It's not just 2. Or you can duplicate 3 more, 4 more. So now we have 5. And here is how you want the duplicated object to be distributed in the document. Right now it goes out of the document edge. If you want this thing to be moved within the document, let's reduce the horizontal value. Let's say not really 19 picos but 9 picos. So 9 picos, that move it into the document. And let's say we want to go up a little bit. So we want to increase this, reduce this value. Well, maybe we would just want to put it here. So that works. So you know that the offset value helps you to make to distribute the object in a certain way. Once you are satisfied with the object, and then you can hit OK. There's one more option: create as a grid. Let's see if we check that. That way it automatically put the stuff in a vertical line. But what if we make it back? And yeah, we'll just keep this. Okay, say OK. Now we have enough more objects in the page for us to work with. Let's see how we can distribute the stuff. Select the object first. Make sure we select all the object, and then go to the distribute panel, if you do not see align, actually is this function panel. So you can see that this panel have some function: align object, distribute object, and distribute spacing. It has different purpose, different uses. Align object, let's align left, and that will happen. That's you mean if you click this, all the object that has been selected will goes to the left. Command Z, make them go back to the original position. Align to the central, and that's what will happen. If you Command Z and do it again, and then align to the right, and that's what will happen. Align to the top, align to the middle, align to the bottom. Or instead of align the object to here, to the left, to the top, to the middle, to the right, we can also distribute the object. Here is that we distributed object, and we distribute the object with a 16 picard distance between each. So if you click that, see there's 16 picards from this object to this object, and there's also 16 picards from this object to this object to this object. So between every other object there's a 16 picards distance. How do you calculate it? You just calculate it from the top of each object. So this is the top of this object, this is the top of this object, and the distance from here to here, that's 16 picards. This is the top of this object, and this is the top of the second object. So the distance between here, that's 16 picards. You can make it smaller, and let's say we do not want to have 16 picards. We want to have 1 picard. And that will cause everything back. There's only 1 picard between the top of each object. You also have a choice of align to the selection, align to the margin, align to the page, or align to the spread. If you select align to the selection, then everything will be aligned to one of the selected objects. If we choose align to the margins, then the objects will be aligned to here. So let's do it again. So they go to the margins. Okay, we go back to the original position, and you can align to the center, which means the space will be calculated from the center of the object, and this is exactly the same. And then you can distribute the spacing. Distributed spacing, let's say distributed spacing, how it just calculated the distance in a different way. So it will be calculated that from the bottom of the upper object to the top of the lower object. So it's not like here you calculate the distance from the top of every object, or from the middle of every object, or from the bottom of every object. So let's say we're going to use 1 picard distance. That means from here to here, that's 1 picard. From here to here, that's 1 picard. From here to here, that's 1 picard. Every time when you calculate the space, you just start from the bottom of the top object to the top of the lower object. So with this tool, you can actually try to align the object in any way you want. So let's play a little bit. Let's say we're going to align them to here, and I think we have more objects that has not been selected in the document yet. So let's press Command A. That means we select everything, and then we get odd objects here, and then well, we want to extend them to here into a line. So gradually increase the distance. gradually increase the distance. Add to the margin, add a little bit more, I guess. That's a little bit longer, so reduce a little bit. Okay, that works. So right now we make all object align to the left, but it does not look like they align to the left because the stars, their corner already reached the left, but the center is still here. So maybe we can align them to the central this time. No, that's not what we want to do. So Command Z and do it, and then click this thing. Okay. See this. Move this thing to the slug. That's not a part of our object. And then select the rest again. Align them to the left, to the margins. And now we align to the selections and then to the middle. Okay, so now all the documents are selected this way. But it's not distributed evenly, looks like. So see if we can do with something with that. And maybe we can distribute object to the margins, align margins this way, and make it go down. Okay, this time the object looks better. That's what we want to be as a decoration of the document. Okay, so that shows us how we can use distributed spacing and distributed object and distributed spacing function to align the objects and make them as a decoration. Now, let's say we can keep this here. Okay, now maybe we can do it this way. Let's say we select all the object again and align them to the top. And so that actually what we have done here is that we put everything in every object we have in a pile. And in this case, if you want to work on the stuff in a pile, how do you work on it? InDesign also have some function allow you to work on the stuff in a pile. So what you need to do is that you need to select everything in the pile, and then you can go to Object and select you can send the because right now you select everything, particularly the first one, so you can send the first thing backward or to the bottom, to the back, or you can try to select the first object above, next object above, next object below, last object below. You can have different function here. If you want to use the shortcut keys, here are the shortcut keys. Basically, you press Shift Command Option and then the bracket. That will be selecting the first object above. Clearly, right now, since the first object is already selected, there's nothing above, so that function is not really usable right now. So let's press Command and press this bracket. Command bracket. Select the first one. Command bracket, and we send it back. Send it back again. Back again. Back again. Or Shift Command bracket. We send that stuff to the bottom. Send the star, and then arrange, send it to back. Yeah, I guess it's send it to back, but we have many. This is not really easy to look at because we have many stars. So we just we have one star, one circle, and one black. Let's delete all the other stuff. Let's also delete this thing because it will also mess up sometime. So we only have 3 objects here. Put it in the pile. Put this thing in the pile. And now select the top one. Press Command. Send it to back. Send it to back. And press Command. The other side of the bracket. Bring it forward. Bring it forward. If you press Shift Command, first half of the bracket you send it to back. Press Shift Command, the little half of the bracket you bring it to the front. Well, now if you are selecting the red star, if you want to select next, just select next object below. That would be Shift Command. So, or you can choose this one. Now you are, even though the position is the same, but now the circle is selected. So if you move it, you can see that the circle is moving, not really the star. If you do it again, we're going to select. We're selecting the. Oh, that's sending back actually. And so now we're selecting the circle. If you click select next object below, so that will be selecting the square, and if you can see that when we are moving the selected object, the square is moving. So that's something that we want to remember. You can select something below, select something above. You can send it back, send it front, do these kind of things. Or when you have 3 objects and you want to make the 3 objects into one, you can select all of them and press Command G. That way the 3 objects are made into one. So it looks like they are one object. And if you want to ungroup them, you need to select the group and press Shift Command J, and then they are separated also again. Okay. Well, notice when you group, Command G, group the object, and when you select the group with the selection tool, they will be treated as a group. But if you select them with direct selection tool, you can still move the position of the single article, single object. Just when you go back to direct selection tool, still they are in a group. Shift Command G and group them, and so now they are separated objects again. Lastly, we want to talk about Command copy and paste. You know that when you want to copy and paste something, you select the object, press Command C, or simply go to Edit, Copy, and then press Command V, and you paste it. But when you look at it here, there are actually 3 ways of pasting something. Just Command V is a simple paste. So you just paste it over there. But you still have a choice of paste into or paste in place, which is Option Command V or Shift Option Command V. So what does paste in place and paste into do for you? Let's talk about paste in place first. Paste in place is a function that you can paste the copied object into exactly the same position where the original object is. So let's say we're going to paste this. Let's delete this thing. Copy the star again and then paste into. Okay, paste in place. Nothing changed here, but you actually paste something. So if you move it, see, it's already copied and pasted. It just pasted into this exactly the same position so that you can see no difference. But if you go to a second page, let's say this page, paste in place. See, it's pasted here. It's just, look at here, it's just exactly in the same position where the object is in the original page. Let's go to the third page. Paste in place again. This time again, it's exactly in the same position where it is in the first original page. So that's paste in place. It is a very useful function when you want to paste the object in the exact position of different pages. Paste into is a different function. Let's say we're going to select this star, copy it, Command C, copy it, and then we're going to select this square. Let's see the square, and then paste into. That will make the star be pasted into the square and make those 2 things as one thing. Now if you want to, in this case, if you want to edit the square, you just edit it when the bounding box is in the blue color. That means you are working on the frame. In this case, the frame is the square. And if you want to work with the star, double click it and you see the star here, and then you can move the star, the position of the star, or you can resize the star, press Option and Shift and resize it a little bit. Okay, we want to go back to the square and make the square just fit the star. So that's how you can work with paste into. You can further even select this square with star, copy it, and then select the circle and paste that stuff into the circle. Paste into again. But it's not very you didn't see the square because the circle is too small. So let's make the circle larger, and you can see the square right now. Even in this situation, you can still work on the star. For example, right now I'm working on the star. Or you can work on the circle, and now it's working on the circle. You just need to be clear which thing you are working on in this situation. But once you use the selection tool, it's actually one thing right now. It's not like a group. You can ungroup it. This thing you can't really ungroup it. It's always one thing. So paste into is a very useful technique when you're trying to create a logo. Remember this technique, you will use it later on. Last thing that we want to talk about is that when you work on the object, notice here you are having the object formatting control panel here. And we've talked about that there are many things interesting on the object formatting panel. You can change the for example, you can change the corner. So if you press Option and click here, you can change the corner of the object. For example, you can change it into fancy corner, and now it's fancy. And you can give it a effects, give it a drop shadow, or you can give a opacity to the object. Right now it's 100. Let's say if you want to use this as a background, you see I do not want to have 100%, I just want to have 10%. So it's not working on the star right now, but let's say if you press Command Command D, input a photo. Let's say we're going to select a photo here. That maybe okay. Maybe see this one. We have a photo here. Oh, such a large photo. Shift. Well, we just want to fit the frame right now. Fit the frame proportionately. So let's say we're going to put this photo as a background. Bring the star forward. Bring the star to the front, actually. Okay. And star right now, let's make it back to, you see the star is not clear here because it's not 100%, so make it 100%, and then it will be very clear. But we want to make the photo as 10%, so that text on the photo will still be readable. And then you can see there's still something here, but as a background, add some flavor here, but it doesn't hurt you reading the text above it. Or if you think 10% is too small, then you can probably put 20%. So that's a option. There are other effects that you can explore with. You can give a drop shadow to the star. You can choose a inner glow, outer glow, all the other feathers. Maybe you can choose a feather. So try to play with those effects, because those effects will make your design much more beautiful. Okay, that's the video for chapter 7. Chapter 6. Thank you very much again. Bye bye.